My name is Katie and welcome to Knowing Herself, the Inner Circle. Let's not call this a podcast just yet, but more so a chit chat with one another, just you and me. That's more along the lines of what we got here. I am a cancer survivor who is passionate about mental health, survivorship, young adult cancer, and anything in that realm. Also books. I love reading books and doing puzzles. And this one here. I love this one. So to begin with, I thought I'd go all the way back to the start of my cancer journey, being my cancer diagnosis process, and share that with you all. So cozy up with me, grab yourself a drink. Mine, of course, is a vanilla latte. So let's paint the picture of when all this started to happen for me. At the time I was living in Adelaide, sharing a house with my two sisters, while my parents lived back in our little hometown called Ceduna. It was coming up to Christmas in December 2022, and I was so excited. I'm a Christmas girl over here, okay? I love myself Christmas. Or at least I did at the time. And so that was really all that was on my mind, was getting excited for Christmas. Little did I know that priority would soon not be the main thing that would happen in December, because how quickly things can change. So it was the beginning of December 2022, the first week to be exact, I believe. I was sitting at my desk in my old job that I had, just minding my own business, going about my day, diddle-daddling on the computer, when out of nowhere I felt my shoulder start to get really sore. And the kind of soreness when you do a workout and a couple of days later it starts to ache a little bit. However, I had not done any workout or anything to warrant that kind of soreness. And so I was sitting there stretching, trying to get this ache out, and nothing worked. So I felt a little weird and kind of out of the ordinary for me, but I was literally doing like acrobat aerobics to try and get this situation sorted. It just didn't work. Now I know why, obviously. So a day or two had passed and I had no relief. My shoulder was still sore. I was still going to work. I just couldn't get that feeling away. And I think it would have been like a Wednesday or something like that. I was at my desk and I put my hands on my shoulder like this, and I felt a lump right here. And I was like, that's a bit weird. Why do I have a lump there? It kind of scared the shit out of me, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. And of course everything starts happening in your brain. I was like, nope, I'm just gonna get back to work because the phone's ringing and I've got no other option. And so that night I decided that I would see if I can get a doctor's appointment, because it is December and it is Adelaide. I looked and I managed to get a doctor's appointment. I had never seen this doctor before, but I was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to book it in, because it could be nothing and I could be overreacting, but I'm just going to book it in and see. About that appointment, I could only get for the Tuesday the following week. It's better than nothing though. At the time, for all I knew, the lump would go down. That's what I was thinking. And then I could just cancel it. But I had it there if I needed it. I also made my younger sister give me a back shoulder massage to see if that would help. It didn't, but I got her to anyway. Mind you, she only did it for like 2 minutes. All that was on a Thursday, I believe, a couple of days after my shoulder started getting sore. So then the weekend came, and you best believe I was checking in the mirror like every other hour to see if old buddy here had gone down. It hadn't, but I was still looking. Walk past the mirror, is he still there? Damn. But I feel like by that point I had kind of just gotten used to the shoulder pain a little bit, and I was like, nah, it's not too bad, it'll be fine, I'm gonna cancel the appointment. And my dad's like, all due respect, don't you dare cancel the appointment. And I was like, fine, I'll keep it up. But all my people with anxiety out there will understand when you feel like you're overreacting. And so you're like, no, it'll be fine, I'll be alright, I'm just going to cancel the appointment, it doesn't matter. Lucky I didn't, but that definitely went through my head. However, the weekend had passed, Monday had arrived, I went to work like normal, and then stupid me thought that in the afternoon, like the last 15 minutes of the day, that it would be the best idea ever to get onto Google. Don't ask me why, but I did. And I googled random sore shoulder plus random lump out of nowhere. And lo and behold, lymphoma pops up. And I was like, what is lymphoma? I'm gonna Google lymphoma. I Google lymphoma and a big word comes up, cancer. Plus a whole other lot of little stuff, but I wasn't gonna read that. I just saw cancer and I was like, not today. Get out of that. And I turn around to the girls at work and I go, I just Googled like a lump in my sore shoulder and it says I could have cancer. And they were like, Katie, don't stress yourself. And I said, good idea. And then I went home. I went home and I sat in my bed and then I cried and I stressed myself out. And then my sister walked into my room and she goes, well, what are you crying for? And I was like, I could have cancer. And she goes, what do you mean, bro? And I was like, my lump, my sore shoulder, it could mean I've got cancer. And she goes, you've got your appointment tomorrow. Don't stress out until then. So I said, okay, I've got my appointment tomorrow. It'll be okay. Because of course you Google stuff and it's never going to happen to you. Tuesday rolls around and by this point it had been probably just less than a week, maybe a week since my shoulder started to hurt. So it hadn't been that long. The Tuesday rolls around, I go to work, then I go to my appointment. I walk in, sit down, and I pretty much say, I have a random sore shoulder and a random lump's grown. And he asked if I've feeling unwell, if I've been tired and all these other questions. And I said, nope, I've just got a random lump and a random sore shoulder. And that's it. And so he feels around my neck here where your lymph nodes are. And at the time they could only feel this one that was like right here. And so he pretty much says that when people find a random lump that they automatically think it's cancer, understandable. And then generally speaking, most people don't have cancer unless they've got symptoms. Now, people can get cancer without symptoms, me being one of them, but most likely not. That appointment ended with me going to book in a ultrasound and x-ray because there's just a couple of things they wanted to check. And it didn't seem too urgent, so I thought, so I could only get in following Tuesday, so a week after. And all this time, when all of this is happening, my parents aren't with me. I've only got my two sisters at this stage. That my parents are still back in Sajuna. So the day of the scan rolls around and I walk in. My appointment was for like 11ish, 11:15. I'm expecting it to just be like 10 or 15 minutes done. Go in, have an ultrasound, go in, have my ultrasound, and then I'm out. My parents were also driving down from Sajuna on this day because they were coming up for Christmas, which will be the following week. But everything was going to change on this day. I walk in and I have the x-ray and that's fine. I do that, no biggie. I then go in and have the ultrasound. The lady does the ultrasound on my shoulder and she goes, was there anything else we need ultrasound? And I said, I've got a lump here that I need ultrasounded as well. She's like, okay. And she goes to do it. And then she spends like 15 minutes going over the lump. And I was thinking, that's a bit of a while. I'm laying down in the bed at this time. And the lady goes, I'm just going to get the radiologist to come and have a look at this before you leave. So I was like, okay. And then she walks out. She comes back 10 or so minutes later. And I'm thinking, that's not good because you've been out a while. And keep in mind, I had Googled lymphoma. And she comes back in and she goes, they just want to do a CT scan while you're here. And I was like, right now? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, okay. So I get up and I go and do the CT scan. And I'm laying on the bed, right? I do the CT scan. I'm laying on the bed and I look over and there's like 7 people in the photography area thing. And I was thinking, that's a lot of people to be there for me. And then the radiologist walks out. The lady that takes the radiology photos, or CT photos, walks around the other side. I'm still laying on the bed. The radiologist goes, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. He introduced himself first, but I forgot the name. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Well, you could have an infection. You've got a very large mass of lymph nodes sitting around your chest. So it could be an infection, but there's a very high chance you could have lymphoma. And then the other lady was like, do you have any family or friends that we can call for you? Because I really think someone should be here for you at this time. And I was thinking, hang on a second, wait a minute. Let's just take a step back for a second. Let's just wind back. I sit up and I go to the radiologist. I was like, you're telling me right now that I could have cancer. And he's like, saying it's a possibility, yes. I was like, okay. And then the other lady goes, right, we need to do a CT scan with contrast, plus another CT scan full body, just to check that there's no lymph nodes anywhere else. And I really think you should get family or friends down here to be with you. And we have to do a biopsy as well. I was like, a biopsy and all those things right now? And she's like, yes, right now. I was like, okay. So I walk out back to the ultrasound room where they do a biopsy straight away, like local anesthetic biopsy. And the radiologist goes, now you need to have an appointment on Thursday, because this was on Tuesday. You need to have an appointment on Thursday because that's when the biopsy results will come back with your doctor. And I was thinking, I can't get in on Thursday, I can only get in on Wednesday. And the radiologist goes, it's okay, our reception area will take care of all that. They'll book in an appointment for you. Your doctor will make an appointment for you available. And I then walk out to the car to call my parents. And Mum answers and I go, Mum, I'm at the radiology clinic getting my scans done and they're telling me I could have cancer and I don't want to have cancer, but they're saying that I should have somebody here with me. Can you come down here? So they're on their way. And so I go back into the waiting room because I have to wait to have the CT scan with contrast. And I'm waiting there and then like 10 minutes later or so I get called in to have the next CT scan. Long story short, I go in there thinking I'm going to be in there for maybe 20 minutes tops, 15-20 minutes tops. I end up coming out like 4.5, 5 hours later with an x-ray, 2 CT scans, a biopsy and the possibility of having cancer. And I was like, great. Because my appointment was booked in for the Thursday, I can tell you now, those 2 days of waiting were some of the hardest I have ever been through mentally. Stuck in that unknown with no answers, and only possibly this could be that. It was very mentally draining on me and it stuffed with my anxiety so much. So it's a place I would rather not be again. I asked my dad to come with me to my appointment on the Thursday because I knew I was not going to understand half, if not all, of what the doctor was going to tell me. I was just waiting for them to say, you do have cancer or you don't have cancer. That's all I was waiting for. One of those options. They had called me that morning to go and do a blood test as well. So I went and did the blood test at like 9 AM because my appointment wasn't until like 12:30 or something. And then I went back for my appointment. We walk in and I get told that the biopsy results were inconclusive because they just ended up getting dead tissue. I had to wait for the next day for the blood test results to come back because that would be a more telling sign of if they came back abnormal, it would be more along the lines of infection. If they came back normal, it would be more along the lines of cancer. And so I was like, are you kidding me? I have to wait another day for the results? Like, I'm already going stir crazy as it is. But they reassured us that behind the scenes, they were working, like, regardless of the avenue that it was going to be, they were contacting people to send me to that I would need to go to. And I went back the next day on the Friday, and I get told that my blood results are completely normal, which means the likelihood of cancer went up a number of percentages. And I did not like that answer, obviously. Because of that, it meant that I had to get a biopsy done, like a full biopsy, to confirm cancer, which I ended up being passed on to a private surgeon who would have an appointment available on the Monday. So at the Friday appointment, that was like 2 weeks and a half or so from the time I had the sore shoulder originally. The weekend came and went. Monday I had my appointment with the surgeon, and then from that appointment he moved me to being first for day surgery on the Tuesday to have my lymph node removed for a full biopsy. So Tuesday I went into day surgery, had that biopsy done, and that Tuesday brings us to 3 weeks since I had my sore shoulder. And also that Tuesday brings us to the week of Christmas. Had my day surgery on the Tuesday, that Saturday was Christmas Day. Because it was a full biopsy and I had to remove my lymph node, it takes a couple of days to get the results back, because they sent it interstate to get the results and to do more testings. And also Christmas time, there's public holidays. So I have to take into account the fact that there's Boxing Day, New Year's. It's gonna put back my result, and also less staff on, because again, Christmas. Taking all that into account, I wanted the results as quickly as I could, and we had arranged that I would get a phone call for my results. I was told that the 30th of December would be the date I would get told, unless they received the results earlier. If they received the results earlier, I would get a call earlier. But they pretty much said the 30th, which was a Friday, would be the day I would be told. And it was always going to be a phone call. I knew it wasn't going to be in person, and I was okay with that, because by that point I just wanted my answer. It'd been 3 weeks and I just wanted to know. I had arranged to have the day off on the Friday because I didn't want to be at work. Obviously, if I get bad news, I don't want to be at work. If I get good news, I want to be with my family still. Christmas comes and goes. Then the following week comes along. I go into work on Thursday, the 29th of December. I got called to the front part of the office to help with a customer because the staff wasn't sure what they were doing. So I go and help with that. I get back to my desk. I had left my phone at my desk, and on my phone pings a little +61 number. I was like, oh, here we go again, because I have had so many +61 numbers, right? To confirm appointments or phone calls to get all this stuff organized for this diagnosis process. I was like, okay, what's this going to be? I open it, and it is a screenshot of my biopsy results plus a message saying something like, here are your results. I will need to see you next week to track your progress and see how you are healing, and we'll get into contact with your hematologist. Kind regards, the surgeon. And I'm sitting there at my work desk being like, what does this biopsy results mean? I have never read a biopsy results page before. And I look at it and it says classic Hodgkins lymphoma. Now, I know lymphoma is cancer. I don't know what Hodgkins is. I had never seen Hodgkins before. And so I'm like, does that mean I have cancer? Does Hodgkins mean I don't have cancer? Like, I don't understand this biopsy page. And also, what is a hematologist? I didn't understand what a hematologist was. And so I sent a screenshot to Dad. And I was like, does this mean I have cancer? And Dad goes, did you just get sent that? And I was like, yes. And he's like, well, the surgeon just sent you that. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, what, not a phone call? And I was like, no, I haven't got a phone call. I just got to send a text message. And I'm like, but I don't really understand what it means. Should I just message him back? Because I didn't think you could message doctors back. I just thought it was like a one-way number kind of thing. And so I messaged back and I was like, does this mean I have cancer? And then he messages back and he goes, yes, I understand it can be stressful, but this cancer responds well to treatment. And so I write back and I'm like, okay, thanks. What am I supposed to do with that? You told me through a text message. And then I called Dad back and I was like, yeah, I have cancer. And then, because I'm in the car, like I'd gone out to the car at this point to call Dad to try and figure out if this meant I had cancer or not. And then one of my work colleagues walks out with my bag and stuff because I'd left all that inside. Because it's only like 8:30 in the morning that I get this text message, like first thing in the morning. And she goes, go home. And I was like, okay, but I'm just letting you know, like, I do have cancer. Like, these results mean I do have cancer. And she's like, oh, okay. And like said, like, you know, gave me a hug and stuff. And I'm like, I'll let you know more when I know more, because at the moment I don't know shit apart from the fact that I've got Hodgkins lymphoma. Whatever that means, I don't even know. And then she walked it back aside, and then I shut my door, and Dad's like, do you want me to come and get you? And I was like, no, it's okay, I can drive home, because work was only like 10 minutes away. It wasn't that big of a drive. I'm driving home, and I pull out the front of the house, and I'm sitting there and I'm crying, but like, I wasn't crying at the fact that I was sick with cancer. I was crying at like, I was 24 and I felt like I had done nothing. Like I'd just gone to work and gone home. And I was like, how can this be everything for my life? And then I walk inside and I see my family, and then I had to tell all the extended family and all my friends and everybody else. So in short, I know from speaking to other people that I had a fairly quick diagnosis process. It was about 3.5 weeks, nearly 4 weeks, and it was in December, so I have to give grace for the public holidays and short staff and all of that jazz. And then obviously there's a whole heap of stuff that happened after to get ready to go to chemo, but that was the actual diagnosis process from when I first felt something wrong to when I found out I had cancer. But I do know some people that spent 6 or 7 months getting diagnosed, so I am so grateful that mine was fairly quick compared to that. And I'm sitting here now, nearly 1.5 years in remission, which is very exciting. I hope some people found this informative, and I can't wait to share some tips and tricks and ways to feel comfortable in yourself going through cancer and chemo, and just sharing some stuff that I've learnt that I didn't find out there when I needed it. I shall speak to you again soon.